This video covers the directions for the reasoning tool activity from Unit 2, Lesson 5. The question we're working on in this lesson is how can fecal transplants cure patients infected with harmful bacteria? In class, we've been talking about how we can use evidence to support a claim. While we've gone over multiple types of evidence, that's not enough. We also need to explain why the evidence matters to our claim, which you can see in the reasoning tool. Here's the subclaim we're working on today. Bacteria from the fecal transplant can fill up the space in the gut, limiting the food and space for invading harmful bacteria. In the table, you can see that there are 3 pieces of evidence, all of which we've gone over in class. I'll read them aloud. The first piece of evidence says, from patient 23's case study data for weeks 7 and 9. On the back side of your reasoning tool, I've attached patient 23's case study and the graphs for week 7 and week 9, so that you can reference them as you're completing your reasoning tool. Here's an example of how you might write the statement, "This matters because," for our first piece of evidence. We can see in the graphs that the fecal transplant added more bacteria to the gut. In week 9, there's far more bacteria in the pie chart as compared to week 7, where we see lots of empty space. What that tells us is that more space in the gut was taken up by healthy bacteria, which might have prevented C. diff from growing. So, in my reasoning tool, I'm going to write, "This matters because the fecal transplant added more bacteria to the gut, and that added bacteria might have prevented C. diff from growing." Notice that I'm writing in a full sentence. This will help me later when I go to write a full argument in a paragraph. Now, we've written why our evidence matters. Patient 23's case study shows that after a fecal transplant, there is more healthy bacteria in the gut, which can prevent harmful bacteria from growing. Therefore means a conclusion, or what are we taking away from this evidence and the reason why it matters? I'm going to leave that part to you. Why is it important that in patient 23's case study, the fecal transplant prevented more C. diff from growing in the gut? You'll repeat this process for the next 2 pieces of evidence. Experiment 1, Salmonella, that's here in the second row of the table. I've attached the results of experiment 1 also on the back of this handout, evidence from experiment 1, and the 2 pie charts. And the final piece of evidence is a direct quote from the Human Microbiome, which is an article that we active read last week. I'll read the quote here. Remember, you can always pause or rewind this YouTube video to hear me read any of this aloud. Even though they are tiny bacteria, third tries the charm, bacteria are living things with the same basic needs that all living things share. The human body provides bacteria with the food and living space they need. That's what makes our bodies such a good environment for bacteria. If you have any questions about this assignment, once you finish the video, you can go ahead and raise your hands, and Ms. Knez can provide you with direct support.